Upliftment mindset you cannot ignore. Focus your mind. Control yourself. Build discipline. Create your destiny. Become unstoppable. Live with purpose. I want you to stop for a moment. Not just physically. I mean mentally. I want you to genuinely pause whatever is running in the background of your mind, the noise, the plans, the worries, the distractions, and just be here for a moment. Because what I am about to share with you is not another motivational speech that feels good for 20 minutes and then fades. This is not hype. This is not a trick. This is a genuine conversation about something that has the power to change the direction of your entire life. If you are willing to receive it, sit with it, and actually apply it. Here is the question I want to start with. Who are you when no one is watching? Not who you present to the world. Not the version of yourself you post about or talk about or perform for other people. Who are you in the quiet moments? When the day has not gone the way you planned. When the motivation is nowhere to be found. When you are tired and discouraged and the goal still feels impossibly far away. Who shows up in those moments? Because that person, the one who shows up in the difficult, unwitnessed, unglamorous moments, that is the real you. And the real you is built from one thing above everything else. Your mindset. Not your talent. Not your resources. Not your circumstances. Your mindset. The way you think about yourself, about challenges, about failure, about possibility, about what you deserve and what you are capable of, that inner architecture determines everything that follows. Today we are going to talk about an upliftment mindset. A mindset so powerful, so transformative, so essential, that ignoring it is no longer an option. Not if you want to live fully. Not if you want to build something real. Not if you want to become the person you were designed to be. We are going to walk through 4 pillars together. Focusing your mind. Controlling yourself. Building discipline. And creating your destiny. Each one is connected. Each one builds on the last. And together they form the foundation of a life that is genuinely unstoppable. If this is the kind of content you have been searching for, honest, deep, practical conversations about mindset, growth, and purpose, then I want you to subscribe to this channel right now. Every week I show up with conversations designed to challenge you, elevate you, and help you live with real intention. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and become part of a community of people who refuse to settle. You belong here. Now let us build something together. Section 1. What is an upliftment? Before we go into the 4 pillars, we need to understand what we are actually talking about when we say upliftment mindset. Because words can become so familiar they lose their meaning, and this one is too important to treat casually. An upliftment mindset is not simply thinking happy thoughts. It is not pretending life is easier than it is. It is not wearing a smile when you are falling apart inside and calling that strength. An upliftment mindset is something far more substantial. It is the committed, practiced, daily decision to rise, regardless of conditions. To grow, regardless of setbacks. To move forward, regardless of fear. To become more, regardless of where you started. It is a mindset that lifts you when circumstances try to drag you down. That pulls you upward when gravity, the gravity of doubt, of comfort, of mediocrity, of other people's expectations, tries to keep you exactly where you are. The ancient Stoics had a name for this kind of inner elevation. They called it living according to your highest nature. The idea was that every human being carries within them a capacity for reason, for virtue, for excellence, and that the purpose of life is to develop that capacity fully, regardless of what the external world throws at you. Marcus Aurelius, writing privately in his journal, a journal he never intended for anyone else to read, wrote about this daily battle to rise above his own impulses, his own fears, his own comfort-seeking tendencies. And this was a man who commanded the most powerful empire on earth. He still had to fight for his mindset every single morning. That tells us something important. An upliftment mindset is not a destination you arrive at. It is a practice you commit to. It is something you choose, over and over again, in moment after moment, day after day. And here is what makes it urgent. What makes it something you genuinely cannot ignore? Your mindset is not neutral. It is either growing or shrinking. It is either pulling you upward or allowing you to drift downward. There is no standing still. The mind is always moving, and without intentional, deliberate direction, it naturally moves toward the path of least resistance. Toward comfort. Toward smallness. Toward the familiar, even when the familiar is not serving you. An upliftment mindset is the counterforce. It is the daily act of choosing elevation over ease, growth over comfort, purpose over pleasure, and becoming over staying the same. That is what we are building today. And it starts with the mind itself. Section 2. Focus your mind. The first pillar of an upliftment mindset is focus. And I want to talk about this in a way that goes much deeper than the productivity advice you have probably already heard. Focus, at its deepest level, is not a technique. It is a relationship with your own attention. And in the world we live in today, a world specifically engineered to fragment, hijack, and monetize your attention, the ability to focus is one of the rarest and most valuable things a human being can possess. Think about this honestly. When was the last time you sat with one thought, one task, one conversation, fully, completely, without your mind pulling away towards something else? When was the last time you were truly present? Not performing presence while actually thinking about 17 other things, but genuinely, wholly here? For most people, that experience has become increasingly rare. And its rarity is not an accident. Every application on your phone, every notification, every feed, every algorithm, they are all designed to capture your attention and hold it for as long as possible. This is not conspiracy. This is business. Your attention is the product being sold. And if you are not deliberately choosing where your attention goes, someone else is choosing for you, and profiting from the choice. So what does it mean to focus your mind in the context of an upliftment mindset? It means first understanding that your attention is sacred. Where you consistently direct your attention, that is where your life goes. Not occasionally. Consistently. The things you think about most, the things you give your mental energy to day after day, those things grow. They expand. They shape what you believe is possible, what you see as real, and what actions you end up taking. If you consistently focus on what is wrong, what is missing, what has not worked, what other people are doing better, your world contracts. You feel smaller, less capable, more stuck. Not because that is reality, but because that is what your focused attention has been feeding. If you consistently focus on what is possible, what you are building, what you are learning, where you are growing, your world expands. You feel more capable, more resourceful, more energized. Again, not because everything suddenly got easier, but because your attention is pointing toward the things that actually move you forward. This is why the ancient Stoics were so deliberate about what they allowed into their minds. Epictetus, who began his life as a literal slave and became one of the most respected philosophers in history, taught his students to be extraordinarily careful about the impressions, the thoughts, images, and ideas they allowed to take root in their minds. He understood that the mind becomes what it is fed. And he taught that a truly free person is not someone without external chains, but someone who has mastered the internal ones. Now practically, how do you build focused attention in a distracted world? Start with your mornings. The first hour of your day is the most fertile soil your mind has. What you plant there grows all day. Instead of reaching immediately for your phone, immediately consuming someone else's reality, someone else's agenda, someone else's noise, begin with silence. With intention. With your own thoughts about your own life and your own goals. Write in a journal. Sit with your purpose. Read something that grows you. Pray or meditate. Give your mind its own agenda before the world gives it one. Then, throughout the day, practice single tasking. Do one thing at a time with full attention. When you work, work. When you rest, rest. When you are in conversation, be in conversation. The ability to be fully present in one thing at a time is a muscle, and like any muscle, it strengthens with consistent use. Finally, guard your inputs. Be deliberate about what you read, watch, listen to, and discuss. Not in a fearful or closed-minded way, but in an intentional way. Ask yourself honestly, is this feeding my growth or feeding my distraction? Is this lifting me or pulling me down? Is this pointing me toward my purpose or away from it? A focused mind is not an empty mind. It is a directed mind. And a directed mind is one of the most powerful forces on earth. Section 3. Control yourself. The second pillar is self-control. And I want to be honest with you about something right up front. Self-control is not glamorous. It does not trend on social media. It does not make highlight reels. Nobody posts about the meal they did not eat, the argument they did not start, the distraction they walked away from, the impulse they did not follow. But self-control, real, practiced, consistent self-control, is quietly one of the most powerful forces in a human life. And its absence, just as quietly, is responsible for more unfulfilled potential than almost anything else. Here is what self-control actually is, and what it is not. Self-control is not suppression. It is not white-knuckling your way through life, gritting your teeth, and forcing yourself to do things you hate. That kind of forced control is exhausting and unsustainable. It breaks down under pressure, which is exactly when you need it most. Real self-control is something different. It is the alignment of your actions with your values. It is the ability to choose, in any given moment, the response that reflects who you actually want to be, rather than who your impulses, fears, or habits would make you. Think about the areas of your life where self-control is most relevant. The food you eat. The way you spend your time. The way you handle conflict. The way you manage your emotions. The choices you make when you are tired, stressed, angry, or afraid. These are the moments that define you, not the easy moments when everything is going well, but the difficult moments when something in you wants to react, to escape, to give in. In every one of those moments, there is a choice. And the ability to make the right choice, the choice that serves your long-term self rather than your short-term comfort, is self-control. Epictetus taught that the single most important skill a human being can develop is the ability to distinguish between what is up to us and what is not. And then to focus entirely on what is up to us. Our opinions, our impulses, our desires, our aversions, our responses. Everything else, other people's opinions, external circumstances, outcomes we cannot control, these are not up to us. And the person who wastes energy trying to control what cannot be controlled, while neglecting the inner world that can be, that person will always feel powerless. But the person who masters the inner world, who can direct their thoughts, regulate their emotions, and choose their actions deliberately, that person carries a kind of power that no external circumstance can take away. Here is how you begin building genuine self-control in practical terms. Start by identifying your triggers. The situations, emotions, people, or environments that consistently pull you toward your worst responses. Not to judge yourself for them, but to know them. You cannot navigate what you cannot see. Then create space between the trigger and the response. Even 1 second of deliberate pause can change everything. In that space, ask, what would my best self do here? Not what feels good. Not what feels justified. What would the person I am working to become actually do? Over time, with repetition, this pause becomes faster. The deliberate response becomes more automatic. The self you are consciously choosing to be gradually becomes the self you naturally are. That is the process of character development. And it is the most important project you will ever work on. Control yourself, not because life demands perfect behavior, but because the freedom to become who you want to be lives on the other side of that discipline. Section 4. Build discipline. The third pillar is discipline. And I want to separate this from everything cheap and surface level that the word has come to mean in popular culture. Discipline has been reduced in many conversations to waking up early, taking cold showers, and grinding without rest. And while structure and rigor have their place, that is a very shallow understanding of what discipline actually is at its deepest level. Real discipline is devotion. It is devotion to something larger than your present comfort. Devotion to the person you are becoming. Devotion to the people who are counting on you. Devotion to the purpose that called you, that thing you know you were made for, even when you cannot fully explain it. When discipline is rooted in devotion, it does not feel like punishment. It feels like service. It feels like love. The parent who wakes before dawn to prepare for the day is not suffering, they are devoted. The artist who practices long after everyone else has stopped is not suffering, they are devoted. The person building something meaningful who works on it even when they are tired and uncertain and unseen, they are not suffering. They are devoted. Devotion-driven discipline is sustainable. Fear-driven discipline burns out. Ego-driven discipline collapses when the applause stops. But when your discipline is rooted in genuine love for what you are building and who you are becoming, it becomes one of the most resilient forces in your life. So how do you build that kind of discipline? Begin with clarity of purpose. You cannot be devoted to something vague. What is the thing, the specific, real, meaningful thing, that you are building? Who are you becoming? What does your life look like when you are living it fully? Get specific. Write it down. Make it real in your mind before it is real in the world. Then build systems rather than relying on inspiration. Inspiration comes and goes. Systems stay. A system is a set of behaviors that happen consistently, independent of how motivated you feel on a given day. Your workout is scheduled, not optional. Your creative work has a dedicated time, not an open invitation. Your most important habits happen in a predictable sequence, not whenever conditions feel right. Systems remove the daily decision, and that removal is powerful. Because every time you have to decide whether to do the important thing, you are creating an opportunity for your tired, distracted, comfort-seeking mind to talk you out of it. Systems close that loophole. The decision has already been made. All that remains is execution. Start small and build. The biggest mistake people make with discipline is trying to change everything at once. They build a perfect routine for Monday, burn out by Wednesday, and feel like failures by Friday. Instead, identify one keystone habit, the single most important thing that, if done consistently, would make everything else easier. Build that one thing first. Protect it. Do it every day for 30 days. Then add the next thing. Small disciplines, consistently practiced, compound over time into extraordinary lives. Every great thing ever built was built one disciplined day at a time. Not in a single heroic burst, but in 10,000 unglamorous, consistent, devoted repetitions. Build the discipline. Protect the discipline. Let the discipline build you. Section 5. Create your destiny. We arrive now at the fourth and most expansive pillar. Creating your destiny. And I want to start by addressing something that might be sitting in the back of your mind. The question of whether destiny is even something you can create, or whether it is something that is simply given to you. Whether life is something you build or something that happens to you. My answer, and the answer that the greatest thinkers and builders in human history have consistently arrived at, is both. And knowing how to hold that tension is one of the most important things you can understand. Yes, there are things you did not choose. You did not choose where you were born, what family you came from, what circumstances shaped your early years, what losses you experienced, what disadvantages you were handed. Those things are real. And pretending they do not exist is not wisdom, it is denial. But within and alongside all of those unchangeable things, there is a space, sometimes vast, sometimes narrow, but always present, where your choices live. And those choices, accumulated over time, shape a trajectory. And that trajectory, followed long enough, becomes a life. That is what destiny is. Not a fixed destination written in the stars that you either find or miss. But the cumulative outcome of thousands of choices, attitudes, and efforts made over time. And because it is cumulative, every single day matters. Every single choice contributes. This is simultaneously humbling and empowering. Humbling because it means there are no shortcuts. The life you want is built, not stumbled into. Empowering because it means you are never without agency. There is always a choice available to you. There is always a step you can take. There is always a way to move, even if it is small, even if it is slow, even if no one sees it yet. Creating your destiny means first being honest about what you actually want. Not what you think you should want. Not what others expect of you. What genuinely lights something in you. What calling keeps returning to your mind no matter how many times you push it away? What version of your life, if you were living it, would make you feel that you had not wasted the time you were given? That honest answer is the beginning of your destiny. Not a plan yet. Just a direction. A true north. From there, creating your destiny is a daily practice. It is the practice of focusing your mind on where you are going. It is the practice of controlling your responses to what happens along the way. It is the practice of building the discipline to show up, day after day, doing the work, whether the results are visible yet or not. And it is the practice of patience. Real patience, not passive waiting, but active, committed, faithful patience. The understanding that great things take real time. That the seed you plant today will not be a tree tomorrow. But that every day you water it, nurture it, protect it, it is growing. Even underground. Even when you cannot see it yet. The Stoics spoke often about the idea of living according to nature, which for them meant living in full alignment with your highest capacities. Your capacity for reason, for excellence, for virtue, for contribution, for love, for growth. They believed that a human being living in full alignment with these capacities was living the best possible life, regardless of whether they were rich or poor, famous or unknown, powerful or ordinary. That is the ultimate vision of an upliftment mindset. Not a life that looks impressive from the outside. A life that is genuinely, deeply, fully lived from the inside. A life built on focused intention, self-mastery, relentless discipline, and unwavering commitment to becoming everything you were placed here to be. That life is available to you. Not someday. Starting today. Starting with the next choice you make. Become unstoppable. Live with purpose. Create your destiny. We have covered a lot of ground together today. And I want to bring it back to something simple before I let you go. Everything we talked about, the focused mind, the self-control, the discipline, the destiny, none of it is beyond you. None of it requires gifts you do not have or resources you have not been given. All of it requires one thing, and one thing only, the daily decision to choose it. That decision is available to you right now. In this moment. Not after you have fixed everything that is broken. Not after conditions improve. Not after you feel ready, because ready is not a feeling, it is a decision. Right now. Take one thing from this conversation. One idea that landed. One truth that felt like it was speaking directly to you. And do something with it today. Not this week. Today. Because your mindset is either working for you or against you in this very moment. And an upliftment mindset, one that focuses, controls, disciplines, and creates, does not wait for a perfect moment. It makes the moment it needs. If this conversation meant something to you, I am asking you to do two things. Share this with someone who needs it, someone in your life who is struggling with their mindset, their direction, their belief in what is possible for them. This message could genuinely shift something for them. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, I want to personally invite you to do that right now. Every single week I bring you conversations like this one, rooted in Stoic wisdom, grounded in practical truth, and designed to help you live with more focus, more power, and more purpose. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Leave a comment below telling me which of the 4 pillars hit you the hardest today: focus, self-control, discipline, or creating your destiny. I read every comment and I want to hear from you. You were not built for a small life. You were built for something meaningful. Go build it. Become unstoppable. Live with purpose. And I will see you in the next one.